Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tiffany. Today I wanted to talk to you about some of the classics that I hope to get to in 2021. So in my first video, the newbie book tag, I talked quite a bit about how much I love classics. So if you watched that, this video was probably not much of a surprise. So I wanted to be more intentional this year about reading classics. I read a few last year, but I have so many books on my shelf that I have never read, that I've picked up while thrifting or whatever, and then there's some I'd like to reread. So I decided to make a goal this year to try to read one classic per month. So I wanted to share some of the ones I wanted specifically to get to this year. So the first one is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I am kind of ashamed to admit that I've actually never read this. It feels like a literary sin if you love classics to have not read Little Women. I have seen movies and I read like a kid's version when I was a kid, so it was abridged, but I've never read the complete and unabridged version of Little Women before. If you are unfamiliar with Little Women, it's the story of four sisters, Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy, and just them learning about love and life, and it's amazing. I already know it is, and I know I'm gonna love it, but I have continually just kind of put off reading it. So that is one I definitely want to get to this year. Another author I would like to reread this year is Jane Austen. So I really want to read Sense and Sensibility. The last time I read Jane Austen, I was in high school, I think. Yeah, I think so. It's been a long time, and Sense and Sensibility was my favorite Jane Austen, so I kind of want to reread some of hers and see is it still my favorite or not. But my love for Jane Austen actually kicked off when I can't remember what year it was, 2005 maybe, version of Pride and Prejudice came out with Keira Knightley in it, and oh my gosh, I loved that movie. I still love that movie. So from there I started reading. I read Pride and Prejudice, and I read not every single, most Jane Austen books. I think like 5 of them, like back to back to back. And really loved it, and Sense and Sensibility was my favorite. So I want to reread and see if it's still my favorite. I also want to read, I don't have a single copy of this. This is like, I don't know if it's all of Jane Austen's novels. It's a beast. But I rebought these other editions, so I'd have some kind of more manageable ones to read. But I really want to read Northanger Abbey, which I don't think I read, but it's Jane Austen's take on Gothic novels, and I think it's actually kind of supposed to be like a satire or parody of that. Which Jane Austen is hilarious. If you've read Emma, then you know that. So I really want to give that one a shot as well. Next are two that, again, I'm ashamed that I've never read. You may know or not know that I was homeschooled as a kid. So I was so into classic reading, even as a young age, that my mom didn't assign a whole lot of classic literature to me to read in school because I just read them anyway. So she was kind of like, just keep a list of the books that you read, and that's great. And she'd have me write, you know, some essays and stuff on them sometimes, but I was reading them anyway, so they weren't assigned to me. So these are books that I probably should have read in high school, but I didn't. So the first one is Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, and then also Huckleberry Finn. So I haven't read either of these, and I want to get to both of them. I think in 2019 I read A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court and loved it, and loved Twain's writing style. He's so witty and fun. They're very well loved and endearing, so I'm really looking forward to reading those. Next on my list is a book that I know really nothing about, and that's The Mayor of Casterbridge by Thomas Hardy. I discovered Thomas Hardy a few years ago when I read Far from the Madding Crowd. I just absolutely fell in love with it. Thomas Hardy has just unparalleled description of the English countryside that are just gorgeous and make you feel like you're there. Then I read Jude the Obscure, and I hated that book so much that I almost threw it across the room, but it was a library book, so I didn't. And then last year, one of my top books of 2020 was Tess of the Deobrevilles. Maybe I'm saying that right, maybe I'm not. I question my pronunciation of things. So anyways, another one of Hardy's major famous novels that I haven't read is The Mayor of Casterbridge. So that's what I want to get to this year. Based on the back, it looks like the main character is a man named Michael Henchard. And at the beginning of the book, he sells his wife and baby daughter for 5 guineas at a country fair. And so then he goes on to become a pillar of the community in Casterbridge, but he's got this deep, dark secret that is following him. So I got this book for Christmas and I'm really looking forward to reading it. What do you think of when you think of classics? Because it's like, I feel like I think of like the Victorian era or the Edwardian era, but we're going way back. The Iliad by Homer. It's another one that I've never read. And I am participating in a book challenge this year by the Literary Life podcast, and I will link that below. And one of the books was a Greek play or Greek writing. I have had the Iliad and the Homer on my shelf for years and years and years because I picked them up at a thrift store, and so I just figured I'll get to them eventually. So this is the year that I'm gonna try to get to it. I don't know how dense or how difficult it's gonna be. It kind of makes me nervous. I am familiar with the stories of the Iliad and the Odyssey because just last year my daughter and I studied ancient Greek history. So I am familiar with the general plot. So hopefully that will help me out. Next is a reread that the last time I read I was probably 12, and that is Anne of Green Gables. Oh my gosh, I love Ellen Montgomery's writing. Some of my favorite books in 2020 were the Emily of New Moon series, which I had never read before, but I found all 3 of them at a thrift store, and I think they were like 50 cents a piece. So I got the whole trilogy for like $1.50. That was a good day. I do a lot of thrifting of books, which you will probably find out. But anyways, so I got these really pretty editions with Christmas money this year. I remember the story of the first book, actually probably the first 2 books, pretty well. I don't think I ever completed the series as a kid because one of the books, I don't remember which one, book 4 or book 5 maybe, is all letters from Anne to Gilbert, and so I kind of like just stopped there because I was not interested in the letter format. But I've grown since then, so maybe I'll like them, make it the whole way through. In fact, one of my favorite things about Emily of New Moon was how much of her own writing was interspersed. Letters to her father in the first book, and then just diary entries throughout the rest. So don't know if that'll be a deterrent. I don't know if I'll get through the whole series this year either. I'm not planning on speeding my way through it. But Emily of New Moon, I read all 3 books in a week because I just loved them and didn't want to stop reading them. So that may happen this time with this, but my goal is to at least get through the OG. If you're not familiar with this story, it's a story of Anne Shirley, who is an orphan who ends up getting adopted by Matthew Cuthbert and his sister Marilla. They think they're adopting a boy to help them on their farm, but they end up with this feisty, red-headed girl who is just, oh my gosh, I love Anne. So anyways, yeah, I'm looking forward to rereading this. Next on my list is a book that I do not own, but I did request from the library, and it is The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and hopefully I'm saying his name right. Not totally legit on pronunciations of foreign names, as I'm sure you will quickly find out on this channel. But anyways, I actually know nothing about this book at all. I just really loved Crime and Punishment and The Brothers Karamazov, both of which I have read by him. I have within the past couple of years started reading Russian books and love them. So I've read some Tolstoy and some Dostoevsky, and I love them both, but I really love Dostoevsky. So I want to read that book by him because I think it may be the last of his like great novels of his that I have not yet read. So I'm looking forward to that one. And also that is another prompt on the 2021 reading challenge by the Literary Life podcast that I mentioned earlier. Next is this great book. I'm just kidding. I'll show you the side so you can see what it is. Bleak House by Charles Dickens. I have had this book on my shelf for a really long time, and I have read most of Dickens' works, but this one I haven't. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. My parents love the old Masterpiece Theatre BBC productions of Charles Dickens books, and Bleak House was their favorite. So when I told them I'm planning to read this one, they got really excited. In 2020, I reread both Martin Chuzzlewit and The Old Curiosity Shop and loved them both. Martin Chuzzlewit was a little verbose in places, but it was really funny. I wasn't expecting it to be as hilarious as it was. Thought it was going to be a little more tragic than it was, but it was, I mean, it was really good and a really good character study. But oh my gosh, Martin Chuzzlewit made me laugh a lot. And if you want to find out how Dickens really felt about America, read Martin Chuzzlewit. Anyways, I digress. Bleak House, that's on my list. The next classic on my list is a behemoth, and that's Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. I have tried to read this book 3 times within my life. Not anytime recently. Last time I think was a couple years ago. But I am determined to get through it this year. I made a blog post on my birthday of birthday goals I wanted to complete by my next birthday. And since I turned 32, I had 32 goals. And this was one of my goals because it's like, I think it's like 1,200 pages. It's really thick and really dense. But everyone I talked to who has read it said it is absolutely worth my time and the investment that it takes to get into it. I absolutely love the musical, but even though the musical is not short, I'm certain that it, you know, was a little different and left some things out. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one, but also a little nervous. The last book on my list, I don't know if it qualifies as a classic. I think it does. I've heard it be qualified as that. And that's I Captured the Castle by Dodie Smith. Dodie Smith also wrote 101 Dalmatians, which I have never read before. So I've never read anything by Dodie Smith, so I don't know if I'll like it. So it was written in 1948. So I don't know for sure. I guess it depends on your definition of a classic. But anyways, this book, I don't really know much about it. It says it's the story of 17-year-old Cassandra and her family who live in a not-so-genteel poverty in a ramshackle old English castle. And I guess it's about her journaling and trying to hone her writing skills. So yeah, this book was recommended by Murphy Napier, and I will include her channel in the notes if you haven't watched her already. I think she's a pretty popular booktuber, so probably a lot of people have heard of her. But yeah, I wanted to give this one a try. Also, I got it really inexpensively. I tend not to buy books by authors I haven't read unless I can get them really, really cheap, and this was a really good deal. So I'm looking forward to reading this. So let me see if I can pick this up. It's really heavy. Here, are they all in there? Sort of. Here are the classics that I hope to read in 2021. I'm gonna set that down. It's falling. In 2021, minus the Idiot because I don't own that one. But anyways, tell me your thoughts. Have you read any of these classics before? If so, which ones? And which ones do you like? I'll recommend that I should start with. Anyways, just let me know in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, guys.